Hey guys, so as you can see here, I have the ARC, or the iArk, I should say, iArkPower HDMI 4 switcher set, 4x1 switcher for 4K by 60 hertz a second, 3D and 4K usage. I have it all hooked up, but what's different about this one compared to this one, as far as I know, is the fact that basically, according to the instructions, and I don't know if you can really read them or not. I'll try to put them on here on the screen so you can try to read them. But according to the instructions here, basically, you're supposed to, well, as it goes, you're supposed to have all the devices unplugged, as far as I know. Basically, the thing can. Here's the thing, and I'm learning this. And just click the highlight button so I can show you what I'm doing. Also, I can see what I'm showing you what I'm doing. But here's the thing: you can't have the power or the output connected just yet. What you have to do, according to this, is you have to put in your desired HDMI port, or basically your desired HDMI devices. You know, your game consoles, DVD, your Blu-rays, whatever. You got to do that. As I try to make some room here a little bit. On the on these, so they can have some air. But anyway, you basically got to plug in all your HDMI devices first. Now, that sounds simple and everything, right? But here's the catch. Even though even though it sounds simple enough when it comes to, let's say, the PlayStation, the Xbox, and a DVD player, the one thing that I'm sure a lot of people have had problems with, and they do kind of, add this as a negative in the comments, is anytime you add a device like, let's say, a Roku or an Apple TV or whatever, that automatically the thing's going to go right to it. Automatically, that'll be the thing that it, registers first, and you can't do anything about it. You just go back and forth with that, and that's it. Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem that they don't tell you about that. And they should add something like that into the instruction manual like this, despite how small the instructions are. What you have to do is, just like with these, just like with your consoles or your DVD player or your Blu-ray or whatever, you have to unplug your streaming device. You have to unplug your Roku or your Apple device or even your Fire Stick before you hook it in. Because if you hook it in, while it's plugged in, it'll automatically register. And I think that's the problem people have had with things like this. The fact that when they put the streaming device, on there, when they connect it, they don't unplug it. They don't power it off completely before they put the HDMI, into the port. So basically what you have to do is, like I said, you have to unplug the AC portion of your device, like right there. You have to unplug it, before you put the HDMI into the desired port on your switcher. And then what you do is you plug it back in. You plug in the AC back. You plug in the AC plug back into your streaming device, and then along with that, you power. Okay, well, first of all, before you do that, I should say, it does, like I said, it recommends you connect all your HDMI ports, right? So you do that, but then what you do is you connect the output HDMI, the HDMI you're using for your TV to be the output for the switcher, and then you plug in your power source for your switcher, and then you power on all the devices that are connected to the switcher. That's what you do. You power on all the devices connected to the switcher. And that includes plugging in or plugging back in your streaming device, like your Roku, your Fire Stick, or your Apple TV. You plug it back in, and you should be good to go. Again, let me go over that. So I make it a little bit, so it's, because I know it sounds complicated. Heck, it sounded complicated to me when I did it, or when I read it. So again, here's what you have to do. You have to insert, or you have to plug in all the HDMI cables that you want to utilize on the switcher. And the catch with that, the catch 22, if you will, is if you're adding a streaming device, you have to unplug the streaming device. You have to power it off by unplugging it. And then, like I said, you add in the HDMI that it's connected to the back. So after you put in all your desired HDMI cables to the devices you want to utilize the switcher for, including, like I said, unplugging this first and then putting the HDMI in, the next thing you do is you plug in the HDMI to the output. Then you plug in your power output, your AC, if you will, and then you plug back in at the same time that you power on all your devices, if you will. Once you power on all your devices, basically what you do is you plug in your streaming device as well. So in other words, like I said, if you want to avoid any kind of complications in the future, you plug in your streaming device after you put the HDMI port in. You plug your streaming device back in. At the same time, you try powering on all your other devices. The reason you have to do that is so that it registers which ports they are from, and thus it allows you to utilize the remote that it comes with to make it a lot easier. Now, like I said, that's the one thing, obviously, that's been very confusing for some people when they connect their streaming devices. Why are the streaming devices the only one that automatically gets registered? It's because they don't tell you in the instructions that you have to unplug the streaming device before you attach the HDMI cable. And then once you do that, along with the other HDMIs that are connected to the devices you want to utilize, then you plug it back in at the same time you power on those devices that you're going to use, so that it registers them, it reads them. So that's about it. That's really about it. Now, again, is there any difference between the two? Absolutely. You see, this one was mainly 1080p. This is mainly 1080p. And how do I know this? Because when I tried to use my Ultra HD Blu-ray player on it and choose the 4K resolution on the settings for the Blu-ray player, it would mess up. It looked like it worked at times, but then it would mess up. So I just put the Blu-ray player directly into the TV. End of story. So the only difference is basically this is 1080p and the output is on the back here instead of on the side like with this one. The other difference is basically this one here has little footings on the back, like little pads underneath. Like right here they have little, they have little pads, for the feet. Make it a little bit more comfortable or easier. The other big difference between the two, I will give the Blackweb one, that's what it's called, that's the brand anyway, credit, is it is just slightly bigger in length to the iArkPower switcher that I just obtained. As well as the other big difference is between the remotes. Now the switcher in length goes to the Blackweb, but when it comes to the remotes, I would say the iArk has a slight advantage over the other one. So really, that's about it. Again, what makes this a little bit more different and a little bit more complicated, especially if it's in the same category as the other HDMI 4K switchers, whatever you want to call them, is you have to put in all the HDMI devices first. You have to connect all those first to the switcher. And again, on top of that, the catch is if you're trying to utilize a streaming device like Roku, Apple, or Fire, you have to unplug the power source. You have to unplug the power source to that device before you put the switch in, before you put the HDMI cable into the switcher. Because if you don't, it'll automatically register it, and that's where the problems lie in. So you have to unplug your streaming device. You have to power it off completely before you put the HDMI in. But once you do that, then you basically put the HDMI to your TV, to the output, to the back here. Then you plug in your power, and then simultaneously you power on all the devices that are connected so that you will be able to utilize them. And that also means plugging back in your streaming device so that it also gets registered. Again, I know it sounds complicated even with me saying it, but that's how it works. But overall, it looks like it works very well. Basically, the other advantage that it has, just like with this one, is if you're playing the PS4, since smart TVs nowadays, 4K ones or whatever, depending on what brand, since nowadays they could read, or they have the PlayStation app on there, they'll pretty much be able to read the PS4 automatically. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool and everything. But overall, though, it's not that bad. It's a nice little device. Again, the only trickiness, like I said, is you have to plug in the desired HDMI cables for the devices you want to use first. And on top of that, if it's one of those devices is a streaming device, you have to basically power off completely, unplug completely that streaming device before you put the HDMI port in, or else it's going to complicate things a lot more. But anyway, though, it is a nice little device. It's worth the money. If you want to get one, it's on Amazon. I'll try to provide a link down below. It costs around $33, so hopefully it'll help you. So hopefully if you decide to get one, it'll help you out. But remember, if you're going to add an HDMI device, or not HDMI, but if you're going to add a streaming device, you have to power off the streaming device first, completely unplug it and all that before you plug in the HDMI cable connected to it, to the switcher. So anyway, though, guys, that's about it. Now you're probably going to wonder what I'm going to do with this. This is going to go in the rec room, so it'll be easier for my nephews when they come over to play the games and not be and not have so many cables scattered about, if you know what I mean. So anyway, though, guys, thank you all for watching. Take care. God bless. And I am out. And oh, by the way, throughout this, you will see the instructions plastered up here as soon as possible. But, as soon as the video starts. So hopefully you've seen them. But anyway, guys, that's about it. And I'll talk to y'all later.